or welcome back to a game of Fantasy Thrones. My name is Hannah, and this is a weekly reading vlog. I've just done my daily gratitude and line a day for today in my Hobonichi. I don't really have much more to tell you about the planning side of things because I sort of back plan. But today is the 3rd of July. All my bills have come out. Well, I'm not very happy about that, but it is what it is. We have to pay the bills. And I've booked some activities for when I go away with my sister for the first and my mum for the first holiday, which is the end of July. So that's not that long, really. And today was a long day at work, busy day, which is a nice change because normally we're fighting each other for tickets to do, but this time we were very busy and we have lots to do tomorrow as well. But you're not here for all of that drama, are you? You're here for the books. So the current book is Of Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, which is the sequel to Of Violent Delights, which is a 1920s Shanghai inspired retelling of Romeo and Juliet, following Roma and Juliet, who are heirs to the White Flowers and Scarlet Rose gangs, the two opposing gangs in Shanghai, which is where the Montague and Capulet comes in. Roma is obviously Romeo iteration, and he is of Russian descent. Juliet is obviously Juliet, and she is of Chinese descent. They're both in Shanghai. In the first book, we get to know their history together. I'm trying to be not very spoilery, but this is a sequel. So we have them, their history, because Juliet studied away. Roma sort of blames himself. And then they're rekindling whatever they had before, while trying to figure out and stop the madness that is happening in Shanghai. Now, I am not going to tell you too much more because spoilers, because the second one pretty much picks up where the first one leaves off. Basically, it's a fallout, and it seems like the madness is back. So we shall see what comes of that. Plans this week, my goals this week in terms of reading are to read Of Violent Ends. I'm not one of these people so far who can read multiple books at a time, and I just want something a little bit less dense, a little bit less heavy than Eye of the World. So that's what I'm going to be reading. And obviously A Little Piece of Magic is still being written. If anybody is interested, I will do a full video on that, my process and whatnot, when anybody's interested. But basically, Little Piece of Magic is my it's not young adult, I'd say new adult, contemporary, paranormal, it's not paranormal, it'd be more urban fantasy story involving Riley, who is a witch, and she's dealing with a bad breakup, to put it lightly, and also figuring out who she is, what her powers mean. And then she meets a hunter who's a werewolf and her love interest. and I'm very much enjoying writing that. So we shall just snap into the reading, I suppose. Hi guys, so it's Wednesday, the 5th of July. I'm at a very funky angle, but I'm just going to deal with it. I've just found and uploaded my Summerween TBR. And the Summerween vlogs will be cut into 2, and they'll just follow my normal weekly. Get myself round. My normal weekly vlogs. So this will be So on Friday when Summerween starts, it'll be Summerween part 1, and then next week will be Summerween part 2. And if I got my dates right, yes I have. It's also concert day. Woo. I'll talk more about the concert in next week's vlog, but basically I'm part of an amateur dramatics society. We put on events 3 times a year. Summer show, which is usually musical. This year it was Bonnie and Clyde, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself with that. A summer concert, which is usually just singing some songs from musicals with a theme. And then we have our pantomime at Christmas. So we're all busy. Lots to look forward to with that. We're always working towards something. So I'll talk more about that next week. But I'm still working my way through Of Island Ends by Chloe Gong. And I've just realised that when I finished this book, I'll have finished a duology, which means I could start. In theory, I could, when I hit my next 9 books, I could, in theory, by Fourth Wing. Oh. But we shall cross that bridge when we get to it, because, Fourth Wing is another series. So do I start a new series, or do I concentrate on finishing the series that I have? But that will be a question to ask myself when it's time to actually buy one. So I haven't really done much other than reading, I should say. But then again, it is only Wednesday. And Tuesday, if you've been following me for a while, you know Tuesdays are like a bit of a meh day, because I have other commitments. I have my drama rehearsals. So, did I tell you what my goals were for this week? But that'll be something to wrap up on Sunday. So I think I'm just going to read, because I think I'm rambling. And I shall see you in a bit. So it's Thursday. I uploaded the Summerween TBR, and by the time you see this video, the TBR will have been up for a couple of days. This video will be posted on Sunday, which is the middle of Summerween. I'm sure I've already spoken to you about how I'm approaching vlogs and Summerween, but so I did finish Of Island Ends by Chloe Gong last night. I gave it 4 stars. On Corpile, which is G from Book Roast's rating system, I give it a 10 for characters. I cannot fault these characters. They are all strong. They fit the world that they're in. You can understand their motivations. And because Of Island Ends and Of Island Delights, which is the sequel, which is the first book, because they are a Romeo and Juliet retelling, it's important that our Romeo and Juliet, Roma and Juliet, or Junli, are their own character while still having nods to the original rather than just their name, which I think Chloe Gong did very well. These characters stand on their own, but you can tell where the inspiration lies for each character, especially with Tyler and Benedict. I love the Celia Kathleen aspect. Oh, I can use that sticker again. Where did I put my... Sorry, I just found a random rating sticker that can actually use. I'll pop it on the sticker paper. There we go. Right. So yeah, I gave the characters 10. Couldn't fault it. There isn't really a big bad. Every character is morally grey, just some are more black than grey in terms of morality. And I did really enjoy reading the characters. So I got a 10. Atmosphere I got a 7. There was enough tension and build up for me to the point where you could feel that you were just waiting for that pin to drop, that spark to ignite chaos. But there were, if I'm looking to the side, it's because that's where my reading journal is. But yeah, the tension was very good. I could feel the tension building, that hold your breath feeling of waiting for something to happen. But some of the downbeats were those character development moments, the moments between Roma and Juliet, or Roma and members of the Montague family, the White Flowers clan, and similarly with Juliet, the Kais, and other members of the Scarlet Flowers gang. They just felt like they were going on a bit too long and dragged the atmosphere down a bit. I think it lost some of that urgency, so I gave Atmosphere a 7. Writing, 8. It was an easy enough writing style, quick to get into, and it fit the tone of the story, like, and the historical context. And because Our Violent Ends is multi-POV, third person, each POV had its own tone, its own voice that was distinct and individual while still fitting in with the rest of the overall storyline. Story feel. So writing got an 8. Plot got a 9. This is a retelling, so you kind of know where the eventual end is. I'm trying to be vague. There were some twists that I didn't get, but I think I got the big one a couple of chapters before the main characters, which is fine. It happens, and it makes me feel smart that I figured it out before they did. But to me, it felt obvious. There was a couple of the smaller ones that I didn't get, and I'm not going to spoil them, but the smaller ones I didn't get, but the big one I did, or at least I had a feeling. So plot got a 9. Intrigue and enjoyment are hard for me to rate because they are, especially enjoyment is subjective. But intrigue, I gave it a 7, I'm afraid. That's purely subjective, and that is because there was a point in the middle where I just got bored. I think the middle went on too long and I just started losing interest, and I think I started feeling like doing that thing where I do other things other than read, which is usually a sign that I'm not interested in the book. And not unfortunately, because I did do other things that I needed to do, but it was at the expense of reading time. So intrigue got a 7. The middle bit was but towards the end it picked up and I just had to know. And in the beginning, when things were ramping up, I wanted to know. It's just in the middle, I think it went on too long. That's personal preference, that's a me thing. Logic, 8. Some of it I did have to suspend disbelief for, but that's just, we are warned that there is an alchemical, almost fantasy-esque element to this story. In terms of the madness in the first book and then the repeated madness in the second. So logic got an 8. I would have liked maybe a bit more of an explanation of certain things, but 8 is a fair rating, I think. And then enjoyment, I may have read this maybe rating a bit harsh, but I gave it a 5, and that's because the ending, I adored that ending. It got me in the feels. I got that emotional connection, and if it was just for the ending alone, I would rate this 5 stars. Core pile not needed. But the rest of the book just felt too slow in places. It felt a bit it felt like it was dragged out a little bit. But again, we have to bear in mind that this was written for a young adult audience, and I think I'm going out of YA, or at least YA that isn't fantasy. But this was historical fantasy, which I have a love-hate relationship with anyway. But it just dragged on, and like I say, I didn't find myself reaching for this book, and I found myself doing that thing where you have the book and you're reading along, and then you skip to find out how many pages are at the end, or you just tell yourself another chapter, and then that chapter, you've just started the chapter. So the overall reading experience was very choppy, very stop-start, and I think that was because I wasn't intrigued for a big portion of that in the middle. So clearly that's a me thing, not, it may be a me thing, it may be a book thing, but this is my rating, and I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to rationalise everything out, but I'm going to give it 5, which I think off the top of my head, I did write it down, it came to about 54. 54 divided by 9? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 54 divided by 7 gives me 7.7, which is the same rating I gave The Eye of the World, which I think had a similar problem. But 7.7 on that chart, it gives me 4 stars. So Chloe Gong gets 4 stars. I think I gave Our Violent Delight a similar rating, but obviously I liked Our Violent Delight enough to go get the hardcover of the sequel. But what that means is tonight's plans. As I've just mentioned, it is Thursday. Summerween starts tomorrow, Friday, and runs for the whole week. Well, Friday to Thursday, but you know that by now. Summerween is a big perennial favourite of the booktube world, and this year I am actually participating. Yay! But back on topic. Because Summerween starts tomorrow, and I have a few books on my TBR for Summerween, and I have more Summerween hopefuls than actual TBR. I'm not going to read it, and I'm not going to start anything tonight. I'm just going to start tomorrow, and I'm going to finish my Ariel square. We have a face, so you can't see the ears and the nose. From the Disney crochet, this is obviously the background. I have her hair, her face, and the little details to do for that. I'm not gonna lie, the portrait squares aren't my favourite. I kind of prefer this is a Coco inspired one, and just look at that colour, it just looks so bright. We have some flowers, and there's a couple of granny squares in there which I do prefer over the portrait squares, but we have a pattern, we must follow the pattern. So I'll probably be working on that tonight. And also, because I finished a book, I have, where's it gone? This one to update. There was a key that I had going for what colour relates to what genre, but let's be honest, that would mean that this blanket would be primarily white, with some random spots of colour dotted throughout it, because white was fantasy and that was the most wool I had left. But we're just going to, I think what I'm going to do, just to make it easier on myself, is just use whatever wool I have to hand. So up until I did 6 months, give or take. This is 6 months. Try again. This is 6 months worth of reading, give or take. So I think I've done well, and I'm just going to change the colours because my blanket, my rules. As long as I keep up with it, I'm not holding myself too accountable to that chart. I'm just going to crochet a line for every book I've read, regardless of the genre. So that's that. This isn't the comment of the video, but let me know what Disney film's your favourite. I'm not a fan of the Disney princesses. I appreciate the art and the story, but they're not my favourite. My absolute favourite, and you can probably tell if you can tell what's on that bag and what those two ears are there. My favourite all time, hands down, best film is The Nightmare Before Christmas. But my favourite Disney character is hiding, but it is Stitch. So comment if you've made it this far. This isn't the end of the vlog, but if you've made it this far, let me know what your favourite Disney character is and what your favourite Disney movie is. You can have different. Your favourite Disney movie doesn't have to be your favourite Disney character, and vice versa. I just think they're interesting because everybody, whether they want to admit it or not, everybody probably has a favourite Disney movie and a favourite Disney character. But enough rambling, because I've spoken for like a quarter of an hour. This is only supposed to be a small update, but I'm going to work on this and work on this, and then when I come back to you, it'll probably be Friday, which means the start of Summerween.
We didn't know how to move on. If we could run it back, and do you wonder if we could run it back? If we could run it back, and do you wonder if we could all of the things I didn't know? I had to get out down the road, inside of the same old, caught in the circles, round they go.
And happy first day of Summerween to those who, I was just going to say, those who celebrate, but this isn't it is a celebration, but I think I meant to say those who are participating. I think Summerween is a celebration of the Ookie and the Spooky. But I do want to read Nothing More to Tell or Mina and the Slayers. So I'll probably start that, but I want to wait until it gets a bit darker. But to be honest, it's 6 o'clock and it's still bright, and as if it was 7 o'clock in the morning outside. The joys of summer. But so I'll probably just read until it gets darker, or bedtime, and count that as reading in the dark. So like I say, I'll probably start Nothing More to Tell by Karen M. McManus, which is a YA thriller following a girl who dropped out of school when her favourite teacher was killed, and she's now, 4 years later, she's back, and I think she's trying to solve the mystery. or I read Mina and the Slayers, which is the sequel to Mina and the Undead, which is a vampiric story set in New Orleans in Halloween. So both of them are fine. The other things I have for this week are some graphic novels, and if I finish those, I'll be a very happy person. So I don't know what else to tell you. Oh, I did update the blanket, so you can see that we now have a fetching reddish brown layer line, and I did finish the Ariel square. Faces are not my friend. I don't really like the portrait squares as much, but we have an Ariel. You know what I mean? The more I look at it, the better it looks, but I still like my patterned squares, let's just call them. So I'll probably just stick YouTube on, catch up with the booktube, see, and just let that autoplay. Maybe write a bit. I should probably make a start on the Doom pile again, but I have all weekend for that. So I shall come back to you when I've decided to read something.
If we could run it back, and do you wonder? If we could run it back, if we could run it back, and do you wonder? If we could run all of the things I didn't know, I had to get out down the road, inside of the same old, caught in the circles, round they go. It's hard when you keep close, rewind with my eyes closed, might need a breather, got lost in the B-roll, let all the window to learn how the world goes, and we didn't know how to move on. If we could run it back, and do you wonder? If we could run it back, if we could run it back, and do you wonder? If we could all of the things I didn't know, I had to get out down the road, inside of the same old, caught in the circles, round they go.
Okay, so I'm now in my dramas, and I'm about to start my Summerween TBR. I have my comic books, graphic novels here. They are Locke and Key, Volume 3, which is Crown of Shadows, by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. Obviously, this is the third in the series, so I can't talk too much about this one in particular. But this does follow the Locke kids, whose name I have forgotten. But there's 3 of them, 2 boys and a girl. Oh, the youngest is called Brody. I remembered. And these 3 kids see their dad being brutally murdered and are taken by their mum back to their dad's family home, where they find these keys. They give them powers that basically this is the series that the Netflix TV show was based on, and this fits the prompt in Summerween for black or orange cover. This is mostly a black cover. So this won't take me too long to read, and then I think, depending on how I feel, I'm probably just going to dive straight into Saga Volume 10 by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. This is another series that's doing the rounds on BookTube. It's a space opera. From the multiple Eisner Award-winning team of Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan, Saga is the sweeping tale of a girl named Hazel and her ever-evolving family. This collection features the latest 6 chapters of the most emotional adventure in comics, including the series' double-sized return from hiatus. So, I know that doesn't give you much, but this is Hazel. The whole story is told from her perspective, and basically she is the child of two different species who are in what seems like an eternal war. Her mother is the soldier from the planet, and her dad is the rebel from the moon. I believe it's been a while since I've read that. So we're just going to read these, and I'll probably just read them one after the other and then wrap them up together.
Move on. If we could run it back, and do you wonder if we could run it back? If we could run it back, and do you wonder if we could run all of the things I didn't know? I had to get out down the road inside of the same old, caught in the circles round they go. It's hard when you keep close. Rewind with my
I'm in about today. It's Saturday. I did finish Saga Volume 10 last night. Started and finished it. That's another 2 prompts down for Summerween. I haven't ran it through Copal yet because I finished it and went to sleep. It's not my favourite. It didn't hit the same as the other ones. But I'm going through our little parkland area thing to the shopping centre where because I have a few jobs to do today. I need to pay my deposit for my tattoo. I don't know if I told you guys, but I've booked another tattoo in. Not until September, but I want the deposit paid and the spot secured. And then, with it being the second Saturday of the month, I'm going to do this in public and not feel weird. But as I had to stop because there was a guy with a dog coming down. But as I was saying, it's the second Saturday of the month, which means our local food market is on. I won't be buying anything for myself because I'm trying to be a little bit more healthier, and I have a meal prep plan subscription. Either way, I have a meal prep that I'm following, but I have a meal prep kit that I'm following, so I'm trying not to do that and trying to spend less money than I need to because I have 2 holidays this year. One is a trip to Kielder, which is at the end of the month, and then I'm going to Paris for a couple of days with my mum, to Disney at the end of August. So 2 expensive trips, but I'll be still getting some stuff because my parents have asked me to make cheesecakes and sausages, random things like that. But I do want to try and call into somewhere to get a drink. I do need to get cash out, but so yeah, Saga. It's not my favourite of the series so far. You can definitely tell that there's been a break and they need to build up that momentum again, but it was good. I guess I have to run to go, but I think it's going to get a 3-star, but this is the 10th in the series, so they can't all be perfect. And I have 2, well, I started row on the blanket, so I have another one to finish. And look at the sky, it just looks so pretty. But I'm going to come back to you at some point. So I finally got round to reading Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Unfortunately, it's a 3-star. It was fine, I just didn't vibe with it as much as I have the previous editions, installments, whatever you want to call them. I just didn't vibe with this one as much. But that being said, I am still going to continue on with the series, and I have Happy Mail I need to show you. So I subscribed to Sterling Ink's subscription kit. I just get the full sticker kit, and I'm going to run through it with you. So we have a little vellum monthly sheet, with obviously this is the August collection, but we have that, which fits perfect. It's a little bit short for my Albany-chi, but I can work with it. It is just going to be a little tip in anyway. We have some vellums, which are very pretty. We have lemons. I don't know why I showed you the back, it's not double-sided. I have no idea what I'm going to do with these, but I've just realised what I can do. I can make a cover for my Hobonichi. But then we have the date stickers. I'll probably just pop these in the monthly. Weekly stickers, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we have the actual stickers. This one was just stuck to the tissue paper and everything else was wrapped in. So I'm just going to trim that and use that as a sticker. So we have some flowers, some little coffees, and some little scenes. Oh, I love these ones. These ones are pretty. They match the vellum. Some more. And then we have date dots. So I'll probably use these ones as a monthly. And those ones as a weekly. In here, we have little ones, so I'll go over that next. And another big sticker kit, and we have some washi strips and just some little foiled stickers. And we have a little, I don't know what you would call this, vinyl die cut of the girl in the field. Date tabs. Some decoration stickers. 2 monthly stickers. And then a calendar. And then just a little thank you card. I got one of these with my planner and I've been using them to tear the washi. I don't know if that's what they're meant to be used for, but that's what I'm going to use. But at least the blanket is up to date. So what I'll do is I'll probably just go through and start Nothing More to Tell, which is by thriller cover. I have a YouTube notification. Oh, speaking of Summerween, Olivia has just posted, so I'll probably watch that and get a cover on the Hobonichi, because I like the idea of that. So I'll speak to you with my initial thoughts on Nothing More to Tell. So I have been reading, what's this called again? Oh yeah, Nothing More to Tell by Karen M. McManus. I'll read you the back. True crime can leave a false trail. 4 years ago, Bryn left St. Ambrose School following the shocking murder of her favourite teacher. The case was never solved, but she's sure that the 3 kids who found Mr. Larkin's body know more than they're telling, especially her ex-best friend, Trip Talbot. He's definitely hiding something. When Bryn gets an internship working on a popular true crime show, she decides to investigate what really happened that day in the woods, but the further she dives into the past, the more secret she finds. 4 years ago, someone got away with murder. Now it's time to uncover the truth. I'm on page 57, which is chapter 7. And so far, we have met Bryn, and we also get a perspective from Trip. And between those 2 characters, we know that Bryn's family didn't used to be wealthy, but her dad got a raise and now she's wealthy. Going back to St. Ambrose School as a rich kid, fee-paying kid, as opposed to a scholarship kid. Trip is a scholarship kid, and by all rights, those 2 should not have been friends because of the rivalries between fee-paying and scholarship. But we know that Mr. Larkin was a favourite teacher from Bryn, and she has interviewed for a internship. The true crime show is motive, but pretty much everything that's happened in the synopsis is happening now. We've met Ellie, who is Bryn's sister, and Bryn's friends Mason and Nadia. We've also met, through Trip's perspective, Shane and his girlfriend Charlotte, who were all there when Larkin's body was found. Where I've just left off, Mr. Griswell. Everybody calls him Grizz. He has just announced that there's going to be a memorial garden set up for Mr. Larkin, and revealed a portrait of the deceased, but it has been vandalised already. It says arsehole on it. Well, asshole, because Americans. But I'm intrigued. I don't know where the thriller aspect of this is going to come in, but I'm thinking, obviously, that whoever did it, when Bryn starts to investigate, they're going to want to hide the truth. I'm going to try and keep spoilers to a minimum, but let's have a look at 356. So we shall get to it. And I think this is the wrong size, but that'll do for transporting books, I suppose. But yeah, I'll come back to you probably tomorrow now, because I just want to sit and read. So it's Sunday. I'm popping into with 2 updates. One is to tell you that I finished Nothing More to Tell. This got 4 stars. I finished it in 2 sittings, and I did really enjoy it. And you are wonky. Can I get you there? We'll just have to live with that. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It follows Bryn, who his favourite English teacher was violently murdered. The police ruled it off as a drifter who did it, but Bryn has never really believed that, and she's using her new internship at the crime podcast show Motive to try and solve the mystery of her teacher's death, basically. And what starts off as a straightforward, air quotes, cold case investigation of a murder turns into a whole lot more. We trying to be vague, but we have robbery, mistaken identity, theft. No, that is robbery. So it all just sort of goes from there, and everybody has their own secret, and Bryn has to sort of figure out what's going on. And of course, she is only a teenager, she gets it wrong, and things develop from there. What I liked about this was the fact that even though Bryn's, are they still employees if it's an internship? But her bosses at Motive, they are using the fact that Bryn is a school kid. Back at Ambrose High, where this teacher was pretty much beloved, they are using her as an undercover spy, but at the same time they do realise that she is only a child, she's a teenager, and they are protecting her basically. They don't want her to get too much into this or getting herself hurt, but we all know how that's going to end. So I give that 4 stars, and that was my 50th book of the year. So my target for the year is to read 100 books. I'm halfway there and we're halfway through the year. That almost rhymed. But I think that's it for this vlog. So what can we say in the comments? Let me know what you're reading for Summerween, what you've been reading in July, and give this video a like if you like it, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see this, talk about these, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.